Okay, hi everyone, and welcome to another week of Bundle of Rays. Wow, man, what a crazy week. Life just keeps changing every day. And today we're going to have another interesting conversation. So far we've covered an emergency physician in Madrid. We've done a new graduate nurse working in Bergamo in Italy. And today we're going to speak to AJ Rothstein. He's a registered nurse working in downtown New York City, baby. Now, you are listening to Reality. This is a podcast show that's associated to Bundle of Rays, where we talk to real people in real situations doing real things. All right, so let's go ahead and start our little conversation. AJ, what the hell is going on over there, man?
Wow, that is one heck of a question. It's a mess. I don't know if the zombie movie is worse or better, honestly, at this point. Just the reality of how many dead patients we're coming across or patients that don't make it is not something that myself or any of my coworkers ever expected to deal with.
Okay, that's a heavy start. Um, let's just do some introductions to begin. So just for everyone, my name is Brad Chesham. I'm the director of Bundle of Rays, which is a nursing education company. And we deliver online nursing education through a platform system. And we usually use virtual reality, but this podcasting show is based around reality, as I said in the intro. And AJ, you introduce yourself.
I am an EMT by trade. I started that 20 years ago. And then I joined working for a wonderful hospital in Brooklyn called Maimonides Medical Center. I worked in the ER for 8 years. The first 5 years, I worked as a patient care technician. Hospitals have different names for it. Basically, we work alongside the nurses and doctors. Did that for 5, then moved to the psych ER for another 3. And I was drafted to work in nursing education to do the training for other information specialists, clerks, and patient care technicians. And I did that for 10 years and got my nursing license. And 2 years ago, I'm excited. Went through. I completed my BSN.
Awesome, man. So at the moment, if I was going to go and get a slice of pizza in New York, when you go out into town, how does that feel? Is it quiet?
In New York's awesome. New York rocks. New York is the city that never sleeps, and you can get a pizza any time of day or night. You
Yeah.
can get it delivered to you. You can go get it. You can get it in Brooklyn. You can go get it in Manhattan. Any of the 5 boroughs you can get it in.
All right, man. But if I'm going out right now with COVID and you're on the way to work, what is it like in the city, in the streets? Is it quiet? Is there still people about? Is there military there? Is there lots of police presence? How does it feel on the way to work?
It feels desolate. It's if it just you go outside and you have this a dreary feeling like something's going on, but we're just not sure what it is. You have cars that drive by because what they're saying here in New York is that the essential personnel could go about to work, come home, get groceries. Even going to a grocery store, it used to be you saw moms, or dads pushing a baby carriage and going with a family to a store. Essentially, the stores are shut down, and one person per household goes shopping and wears gloves, and a mask. Um, it's strange to even watch it.
Yeah, yeah. So that's just beginning here in Australia. We're on the other side of the globe, and this thing is just touching everybody. So before we even get into your nursing world, has Corona touched you at home? Have you had any sort of social implications around the coronavirus?
I have. It's actually been quite difficult. It really has. I made a choice to not see my children. They live with their mom, and that's been very, very hard. I My family lives in their home, and I don't go visit them anymore. Everything is done Skype, and perhaps the most creepy of all this is this school where I got my rabbinical degree. The rabbi died last week. He died from corona, and his funeral was on Zoom. Who would ever think that a funeral would be on Zoom?
Mm.
The funny part, because I tend to use humor to get by my day, I would say that was the first funeral that I attended in my underwear. Because it's just, you're doing it from the comfort of your home, but it's just weird. On a different note, we're learning to communicate differently. So I speak to my children by phone more often. We do more video, Skype calls or WhatsApp or Zoom. Zoom is really, now the kids have school via Zoom. So Zoom is really big over here, in New York. And it's been very, very different, and it's hard. I mean, as a nurse and just as a person that I'm a one of my five love languages, just personal touch. And whether it's my kids or it's even being able to put my hands on my patients.
Yeah.
So it's changed everything. And I essentially just come home and I'm bunkered in here till the next day, till the next shift.
Yeah. Yeah. So just to let you know, my wife is 30 weeks pregnant, and we have a 1-year-old.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're just having conversations about a game plan about how we go ahead, But the thing that I've really learned in the last 2 weeks is that everybody has something, man. Whether you live at home with your parents who have a autoimmune disease, or, you've got a grandparent that relies on you, every single person that stands next to you at work, they have something. And, clearly you've taken control of your situation, and that's commendable. You're doing something for the broader community, and you're taking a toll for that. So it's a tough choice, but I understand it. I work in emergency and intensive care, so you're talking my language, and I'm on the other side of the world, man. So kudos to you, and you just keep
Thank
doing what
you.
you can for your family, and that's something that is on everybody's lips, man. As nurses, as doctors, as ward orderlies, as the clerks, everybody is obviously worried about their family. But you're doing a good thing. So let's get into the nursing part of this, man. So you walk into work, and you're currently working on a medical ward in the hospital. So
Yes.
how many patients have you got on that ward?
30 patients.
Okay. And how many of them have COVID?
A large percentage.
Yeah. Okay. And how are you finding your workflow at work?
Did you say the word flow?
Yeah, workflow. Yeah.
Workflow. Workflow. I, you know, I would say it's fragmented. In terms of a flow, it's a matter of I feel like I'm in a constant state of triage. Where typically you'd have mostly stable patients and a few that are less stable. You are getting some stable patients. I'm not going to say that everybody on there is dying, or at least they're not dying yet. But it's you need to make a decision. Which patient do you see next? I mean, forget about comfort care. That's really not a priority. Not because it's not my priority. It's just not, in the big scheme of of all the, all the tasks that need to get done or what other patients need. You need to decide, and you pray that you continue to make the right decision, hour by hour.
And in terms of how COVID had come into your hospital, do you feel like that every shift it's just getting worse?
Absolutely. That's absolutely. It's initially, well, we have a COVID patient in our facility. Whoa, we're one of the people that got them. I'm like, okay, so we're good. So we'll just have to keep those people separate, and the rest of us will go on with our lives. Oh, were we in for a surprise, and not a very good one.
So contextually, what was that time period where you sort of thought, oh, there's one COVID or there's two COVID, but then you blink your eyes and like a week?
It went very quickly. I'm going to say maybe over a week period.
Yeah.
So over a week, it just built up from almost 0 to 60.
Yeah.
Or I don't think we're at 60 yet, but yeah.
Okay, no worries. Now, one thing that people are really struggling to understand, and you've already brought it up, is when people deteriorate. So you're on the ward, you're doing your thing, and then someone, drops their saturations and their respiratory function is at risk. How are you guys managing that? Do you have like a code system where people rush in to help, or do you flag people in the morning and give them a no resuscitation sort of order? And that way you can triage the patients in terms of who are we going to give more resources to, and how are we going to manage any deterioration as the day goes on?
So that process, at least ideally, stays the same. Where you separate, you divide the patients between the different nurses on the floor, and you kind of tackle together. Yeah, we have nurses designated to what we call the rapid response team, in case patients begins to deteriorate. The expectation is that it's going to happen, and we need to respond to it. And sometimes it's that concept that they continue to drill into your head in school, where every patient is your patient. That takes on a whole new meaning. But we get to it. I mean, if there's a patient that becomes much sicker, and I got to tell you something else. Somebody called me yesterday, a friend of mine, that her uncle was on a respirator in Long Island, and he was very sick. He had some underlying health issues, but he was on a respirator, and somehow he was extubated. His breathing tube came out, and because he also at that point had some kidney failure, a rapid decision was made to give him morphine and some oxygen and let him go in peace. Just to hear it from, and to understand that happens in your city, it's just unfathomable.
Yeah, extubation, we've had a lot of people training for intubation and very sort of strategic methods around managing aerosols, and having that accidental extubation or withdrawing is a challenging issue. That's a crazy story.
Yeah.
So during your day-to-day work, how does your patients communicate with their family? Obviously, I'm assuming you're not letting very many visitors in.
I'm going to say that we don't let any visitors in.
Okay.
Patients do not get to have a family by the side, which is just thinking, in Australia, like as you mentioned, will you be allowed to be there when your wife gives birth?
Not if I'm positive.
Here, it doesn't make a difference. Here, the woman's on their own.
Wow.
Some hospitals have also decided to not allow birthing coaches and doulas to be in the room.
Okay, we'll just keep that quiet from my wife because she will dead set murder somebody. Yeah,
I would tell her.
yeah. Okay, no worries. Because I was actually at an electronics store this morning asking a big electronics provider if we can get a charitable donation of some tablets, so patients can FaceTime their family. Because that's one thing that's just blowing my mind is that, in society we have all these innovative devices and technology, and we've got all this infrastructure, but to watch somebody die in front of me with none of their loved ones, that's not something I'm ready for.
I, I don't know if anybody is ready for that.
Yeah. Okay. And so your team at the moment, so you obviously got a team of nurses, doctors, physios, etc. How are
Mm-hmm.
they going? What's the mood?
Somber.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the jokester on the team, so it kind of helps a little bit. You find some positivity, but it's not. Um, we do the best we can. We do the best we can. We between ourselves, we try to crack jokes or think of something funny that happened, or just to be able to, just to keep our morale up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And, I think that's another area for innovation. We're talking about, getting like some kind of choir
Mm-hmm.
on Zoom to sing in, for people, or, getting messages from schools or nursing homes where people can provide, goodwill, or just to let people like, who you sort of cast away from your family, that you're doing the service. You're not, this isn't World War II. I haven't put a gun in your hand to go fight someone, but the context of what you're doing is a civil service. And that's one thing in Australia a lot of nurses are also very passionate about is trying to make sure that we can get that. But on the same side of the coin is I'm a little worried that we're getting a lot of recognition now before it's actually really started. Because, we're going to need a lot of ongoing support. And, we've seen from multiple disaster zones that PTSD is a real thing. And I know for a fact nurses collectively didn't put their hand up to be on the front lines, whereas soldiers sometimes can choose that. So that conflict internally is going to hurt some people, Um, but, what about the staff room, man? When you have lunch, are you guys having lunch together in a staff room and social distancing, or are you sort of dispersing? Are you getting the opportunity to have breaks?
The short answer is no. We're also a union hospital, which normally secured your contractual time, and social distancing. If I, by habit, approach a nurse like within a foot or two, the reaction is like, get away from me. It's as if, I mean, this is not child stuff where you have the cooties go away. This is people are fearful. They're like, please stand back. And it's 6 feet. And I'm like, but it doesn't make a difference. 6 feet is 6 feet.
Yeah. That's crazy because I'm just looking at the statistics here. Like New York currently has around 60,000 total cases, and 6,000 of those are new. The total deaths in New York alone is 965, with a total new deaths of 82. It doesn't get much more serious than that. And collectively across the US, you have 140,000 cases and 2,500 deaths. And like I said, I think collectively in a society, if we were at war, let's go to war, let's fight someone, the community can corral together. But for some reason, this pandemic, it really has sort of got this interwoven psychology into the community that provides a little bit of internal conflict for everyone, which is just ridiculously challenging. But also for us on the front lines, it's really stressful, really stressful. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's hard. I would say another piece you talked about the family, the psychosocial aspect. You know, when talking to a family member today, um, one of them suggested that perhaps I was overreacting. It was not as serious as I'm saying it, and just shook my head, and I just accept that they don't get it. And one of the things that we're struggling with here, specifically in New York City, is that there are groups of individuals who get together, whether it is for religious reasons, but they feel that it's okay. And there's a whole underground movement. There was even, I saw about some type of COVID party, you know. Yeah, so I think that a lot of us, others are not getting it. And of course, they're contributing towards the increasing, you know, they're not helping with flattening the curve because they continue to pass along the disease.
Yeah, that's pretty dark. Death and suffering is always easy to comment on and behave around until it reaches out and touches you on the shoulder. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So, the key question nurses always worry about is their family, but then it's also about their colleagues. Like, are many of your staff catching COVID?
Some are. And last week, I think it was Friday, we lost 2 employees. I did not know them.
Hang on a minute. You mean they died, or you lost them out of the workforce?
No, they died. They they died. And you would say, okay, well, and as a matter of fact, I know one for sure worked in support services. He worked in the warehouse. So he had zero patient contact.
So perhaps got it from the community or.
Community or within the hospital, with some type of contact, it's everybody's at risk.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the big thing in the US, PPE. This is a thing for me, pregnant lady at home, and same as everybody else, everyone's got someone. So when you go into work, is your organization making you feel safe?
No, it's I want to just be careful in the way that I articulate this. They would like to.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they would like to, but reality is, um, it's survival of the fittest. It's you come with your little Ziploc with your face mask in it. You wear it all day, the same one. You wear the gown, and you go home with it. And it just makes no sense. A year ago, if I walked outside of a room with a patient had tuberculosis with my N95 mask, I could possibly lose my job because that's reckless.
So you're currently wearing the same mask all day, and then you bring that mask home. I imagine you clean it. No, and then
Uh,
you wear the same mask
no,
when you go back to work again.
I wear the same mask, same gown. However, I'm lucky. I have a lot of connections that really care for me. And I've had somebody who drove from Jersey on Friday to bring me some face masks that I should have, and I think I have enough for this week. Well, at least I have enough for the days that I'm going there, which what I mean by that is I'm working 3 12-hour shifts.
Yep.
So I have at least 3 masks. We're not talking about enough to switch. We're like, I have the luxury of tossing that mask out at the end of the shift.
Yeah.
which not everybody gets to do.
Yeah, fair enough. And, I think it's really important to say that I am 101% sure that no CEO or executive or director ever wants to put their staff at risk. It's just the capabilities at this time in this situation that have unfolded to produce the current circumstance, which the reality is that certain pieces of equipment are thin. And, it's pretty inspiring to see Tesla and GM get motivated
Yes.
make
Yes.
and there is a lot of negativity and fear and confusion around COVID, but there really is a lot of positive, community activated programs that are getting behind people to help support what is happening at the same time. And it's so easy to get bogged down in some of that without looking at the positives.
No, absolutely. It's almost like your default mode. Your default mode is to, is like, oh my God. I mean, the reality is that it is very dark and hard. There are amazing companies. I just saw that Maimonides Hospital shouted on social media to Elon Musk, who sent equipment to the hospital. So there are companies that I didn't even know were part of, the supply chain, at least in terms of working with the hospitals. And they are. There's a lot of there are good there are companies out there, and I'm proud, to see how other entrepreneurs and wealthy individuals who are giving their salaries back to help us live longer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough one, man. And when you go into work, it's eyes wide open. It's game time. We have to be vigilant. We have to be in the moment and focused on each other, because when you look to your left and look to your right, there are people who are in the trenches with you, and you can't just focus on your thing and put other people at risk. Because if your shield and defenses are low, then you have to collectively work together to put more, making sure your policy is in place, the communication is on point. Confusion is just something that it can't exist. We have to move forward in sync. And that's something that's a challenge. It's an absolute challenge, and everyone's working hard to mediate it. But yeah, I hopefully things can start to flow, because as a nurse, I feel like if I'm doing my work with my patient, all I want to do is reach over, pick up a mask and put it on. Everything else that happens behind me, I feel like should be someone else's responsibility. So the supply chain, from the warehouse to the delivery, to the stock, to the storeroom, to the trolley, right now with what's going on, I just want to turn around, grab my thing and do my thing, and everything else is up to somebody else, because I'm here, I'm away from my family, I'm doing my thing for everybody else. Everybody else can help support me. And, that's going to come. I feel like it's going to come in the US. And that's what I'm seeing on the news. But, you're the one on the ground that's bringing your mask home. And I'm lucky enough to say that where I work, I can swap out our masks and we have enough PPE for us. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. All right, man. So what happens next for AJ? Just keep on keeping on.
Yeah. Just keep on. It's just positive, just keeping a positive disposition, looking at research, trying to figure out, how we could support, get our patients better, and get back to the world that we once knew, and get back to get to see our families once again.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I'm in a third world country, and I was sent on a mission. This is not something that I signed up for. This isn't, but at the end of the day, what I did sign up for is to provide excellent patient care. And I'm not going to lie, I hesitated and considered maybe stepping out, came to a point, do I stay in the job with the high risk of becoming sick, or God forbid worse, and not be there to walk my daughter down the aisle or should I say my life comes first, my family comes first, and the patients will be them. It took me years to complete my training. It wasn't easy. I fought, breath by breath to finish my schooling, my education, and I came out the other side. And I believe that's the same thing's going to happen here. One day, you and I, maybe we should, drinking a beer, and that would be, that would be fantastic, and be able to look behind us and say, "Do you remember that time that we spoke?" I was like, "Oh my God, yeah, that was wild."
That shit was crazy. Yeah, man.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, it was. I want to go to sleep and then wake up in the morning and just say, "Oh wow, that was a real bad dream. That was a bad dream."
Yeah.
That's what I would like.